My girlfriend, Ava Sterling, and I had been together for 2 years and secretly married for 7. Her dream, she said, was to be a star, famous and admired by millions. So I blew up my life for it. I fought with my parents, rejected the dynastic merger they called an arranged marriage, and became her husband in the shadows for 7 years. Back then, Ava told me that the moment she won an Aegis Award, the highest honor in American film, she'd give the trophy to me and then announce our love to the entire world. I believed her. Even though we spent more time apart than together over those 7 years, I understood. I supported her career no matter what, until I saw Ava with her family of 3 at the hospital. I was lying in a hospital bed, my right leg in a plaster cast, hoisted in the air by a traction rig. The sterile, antiseptic smell of the place stung my nostrils, and fluid dripped from an 4 bag with a slow, maddening rhythm. My phone lit up. A text from Ava. "Honey, I heard you were in a car accident. Is it bad? I'm stuck on set and can't get away. Please take care of yourself." "Not serious," I typed back. "Just a fractured femur. A few weeks of rest, and I'll be fine. You focus on filming." I hit send, then hesitated before adding, "Don't worry, I'm at a hospital owned by an old college friend's family. They're looking after me." It was a lie. In reality, I was in Burbank, a mere 20-minute drive from her studio. The whole point of my trip was to surprise her on set. Instead, the surprise had become my own personal horror show. I figured a white lie would keep her from worrying. Bed 3. Time to change her dressing. A nurse bustled in with a medical cart, pulling me from my thoughts. The process was excruciating, but I clenched my jaw and bore it. Just as the nurse was packing up to leave, the door to my room swung open. I looked up instinctively, and my blood ran cold. Standing in the doorway was Ava, the same woman who had just claimed to be trapped on set. She was in full celebrity disguise, baseball cap, sunglasses, and a face mask, but I'd know that silhouette anywhere. Beside her stood a tall man, holding a little boy of about 4 or 5. The child's cheeks were flushed, and he looked feverish. The 3 of them together looked for all the world like a family bringing their sick kid to the emergency room. I froze in the bed, the urge to call her name caught in my throat. "Excuse me, can you tell us where the pediatric wing is?" Ava asked the nurse. Her voice was the same gentle tone I knew so well, but it was laced with an anxiety I'd never heard before. "Straight down the hall, take a right at the end," the nurse said, gesturing. "Thank you." Ava took the boy from the man, her fingers instinctively brushing his bangs from his forehead. "Hey, sweetie," she cooed. "Hang in there. We'll see the doctor in just a second." The man wrapped an arm around her waist, using his other hand to feel the boy's forehead. They moved away as a single, seamless unit, disappearing from my view. My hands twisted the bedsheets. My mind raced, desperately trying to find a plausible explanation. A nephew, maybe, or the child of a friend, but that easy intimacy, that unspoken understanding between them. That wasn't something you saw between casual friends. "Do you know them?" the nurse asked, noticing my state. No, I don't," I mumbled, my head spinning. The moment she left, I grabbed my phone, my fingers trembling as I dialed Ava's number. I heard a ringtone echo from down the hall. Then her voice hushed. "Hey, babe." I fought to keep my own voice steady. "Where are you right now?" "On set, of course. We just wrapped a scene." "Taking a quick break," she said, a smile in her voice. My heart sank into my stomach. "Oh, well, you get back to it. Make sure you rest." A crushing weight settled on my chest. I hung up before she could reply. The boy looked to be about 4 or 5 years old. If he was really her son, that meant she had betrayed me in the 2nd year of our marriage. It would mean that Ava didn't just have a secret family. She'd been maintaining it for years. My 7-year marriage was very likely nothing more than an elaborate, carefully constructed lie. Rain began to streak down the window pane, blurring the world outside, just like the love I thought I knew had become hopelessly blurred. 2 hours of anxious, circular thinking later, I saw them again through my doorway. The boy had apparently been treated. The man went to the pharmacy while Ava held their son in the waiting area, gently patting his back. I quietly raised my phone and snapped a few pictures. The image of her leaning down to kiss the boy's forehead burned into my vision. Every time I had brought up having kids, she'd always said her career was in a critical phase and it wasn't the right time. It turned out it wasn't that she didn't want a child. She just didn't want a child with me. Soon, the man returned, handing her a bottle of water and a prescription bag. She took them without a second thought, and the three of them walked toward the elevator. A hot rage flooded my system. I ripped the 4 from my arm, grabbed my crutches, and, ignoring the searing pain in my leg, hobbled after them. They took the elevator down to the parking garage. By the time I managed to get there, I saw them climbing into a black Range Rover. I watched the car pull away, memorizing the license plate. Rain slicked my face, mixing with tears I hadn't realized were falling. Back in my room, the doctor and nurse were frantic over my disappearance. I mumbled an excuse, but the doctor insisted I stay for another 2 days of observation. Lying in bed, I scrolled through the blurry photos on my phone, each one a fresh stab to the heart. The next morning, I checked myself out against medical advice. My leg was far from healed, but I couldn't stand to lie in that hospital a moment longer. I called in a favor and had the license plate run. The information came back quickly, not just the owner's details, but the vehicle's current location. I took an Uber to a gated community in Calabasas. The security was tight, so I couldn't get in. I settled into a coffee shop across the street to wait. 1 cup of coffee turned into another and another. Finally, at 5 in the afternoon, the man emerged, driving the Range Rover alone. I immediately hailed another Uber. Follow that car. He ended up at a private international preschool. The man got out and, a few minutes later, walked back with the little boy. From there, they drove to a supermarket, where they bought a cart full of groceries and kids' products before returning to the community. I kept my eyes fixed on the apartment building they entered. Night fell, and lights flickered on across the complex. I found a position where I could see their balcony. Using my phone's camera zoom, I could just make out Ava in the kitchen, a whirlwind of activity. The boy was at her side, and the man came up from behind, wrapped his arms around her, and kissed her on the cheek. The scene was so warm, so natural. It shredded every nerve in my body. My phone rang. It was Ava. I took a deep breath and answered. "Hey, you. Feeling any better today?" Her voice was still the epitome of gentle concern, but it made my stomach churn. "Much better," I said, my eyes locked on the distant window, where she was stirring something in a pan while holding the phone to her ear. "How about you?" "Productive day on set. It was okay. Just a little tired," she sighed, leaning back into the man's embrace. "Babe, I miss you so much. After this movie wraps, let's take a trip together, just the 2 of us. What do you say?" "Sound great. I miss you too," I said, a malicious thought taking root. "Actually, I just wrapped up my project. What if I come visit you on set?" "Oh, you don't have to do that." I heard the distinct clatter of spatula hitting the floor. Ava's voice wavered for a second before she recovered. "It's a long drive, and you're a big-shot CEO. You can't just drop everything to chase your wife around. If the tabloids got a hold of that, my fans would have a field day." A true actress, aiming for the top. Her performance was flawless. "All right, then," I said with a cold, silent laugh, playing along. "I guess my wife is just too famous. I'll just have to wait patiently for you at home, like a good husband." Her laughter tinkled through the phone. "Okay, the director is calling me for a cast dinner. I have to run. Love you. Love you too." After I hung up, I watched her put the phone back in her pocket, turn to the man, and say something that made them both smile at each other. I had seen that smile 1,000 times. She used to give it to me during the brief moments we had together. The rain started again, harder this time. I didn't have an umbrella. The water soaked through my clothes, but I couldn't feel the cold. The wound in my leg throbbed, a dull ache that was nothing compared to the agony in my heart. I knew I wasn't Ava's first choice. Back in our sophomore year of college, her boyfriend had left to study abroad, and I pursued her relentlessly until she finally agreed to date me. Maybe she only said yes to spite him, or maybe it was an act of reckless abandon. I didn't care. I was a firm believer that any heart could be won over with enough devotion. It had been 9 years since the day she'd accepted me. In all that time, she was my entire world. I respected her, cherished her, put her first in everything. Whatever she wanted, she got. And slowly, she seemed to open up to me. Whenever she was filming out of town, she'd bring back souvenirs, thoughtful, unique gifts that were clearly chosen with care, not as a mere afterthought. She remembered my parents' birthdays better than I did and never missed a holiday family dinner. After we were married, She became the more affectionate one in our relationship. She was, in my eyes, the perfect wife. When did it all start to change, right? The second year of our marriage. She took a role that required her to be overseas for 10 months. I had my reservations, worried that a long separation would erode our bond, but I chose to respect her ambition and let her go. When she came back, she was twice as affectionate, transforming from my cool, reserved girlfriend into a warm, attentive wife. I chalked it up to absence making the heart grow fonder, believing the separation had somehow deepened our love. Every day since, I had felt grateful for my decision to support her. Now I realized the timeline matched perfectly with the boy's age. It all made sense. My beloved wife, in the second year of our marriage, had gone abroad and had a child with another man. My happy life was nothing more than a fantasy she had woven for me with her acting skills. If it weren't for this accident, I might have spent the rest of my life blissfully unaware, trapped in her performance. In this play, she was the gentle, devoted wife. But my entire life was just one of her roles, and she had other plays to star in. In another production, she wasn't just a devoted wife, but a doting mother too. The thought made me want to retch. I wanted to storm up to that apartment, beat the hell out of that man, and demand to know why she did this. But it would be pointless. She'd have a million excuses, and tipping my hand would only give that cheating pair time to destroy the evidence. I had to get undeniable proof. I would make them pay. Of course, that didn't mean I couldn't start collecting on the debt early. I took out my phone and called my assistant, telling her to hire a private investigator to dig up everything on Ava and that man. Then I sat down at the entrance of the complex, ready for tomorrow to come. I waited outside the complex all night. When Ava's little family emerged in the morning, I was leaning against a lamppost, smoking a cigarette. The moment she saw me, all the color drained from her face. "Ethan, what are you doing here? Shouldn't I be asking you the same thing?" I crushed the cigarette under my shoe, watching her perfectly made-up face shift from shock to panic. She was holding the hand of a little boy, the strange man standing right behind her. What a picture-perfect family. If only I weren't the husband being played for a fool. "You're not Mommy's husband. Daddy is Mommy's husband," the little boy suddenly shouted, wrenching his hand free from Ava's. He ran up and kicked me squarely on my injured leg. The pain was so sharp, I doubled over. "Noah, don't. He's just a kid. He doesn't know any better. Please, don't mind him," Ava said, instantly pulling the child behind her, her eyes wide with fear. I forced myself to stand up straight, a smile twisting my face that felt more like a grimace. "I don't even know what I'm supposed to mind. The fact that this kid just called you mommy? Or the fact that you lied about being on set while you were here, playing house with another man and his son? No, it's not. Ava finally grasped the gravity of the situation. She tried to explain, but there were too many questions and none of them had an easy answer. "Let's not do this in front of the child. Ethan, I'm begging you. Let me get him upstairs, and then we could go somewhere and talk. Please." She shot a look at the man. He scooped up the boy, whispered something to him, then looked at Ava. "We'll be waiting for you at home." With that, he walked briskly into the complex, giving me one long, meaningful glance before he disappeared. After he was gone, I looked at Ava and jerked my head toward the coffee shop across the street. She tried to take my hand several times as we walked, but I shook her off each time. We found a quiet corner booth. She was desperate to start explaining, but I held up a hand to stop her, ordered 2 lattes, and then cut straight to the chase. "Why? Was I not good enough for you? Or did you just stop loving me?" "Ethan, it's all a misunderstanding. Please, just let me explain." I gestured for her to go on. "That man, he's my ex-boyfriend, Leo. You might have even met him once, back in college." Ava trailed off, glancing at me nervously. Seeing my expressionless face, she continued, "But it's not what it looks like between us. He got married years ago. His wife passed away shortly after giving birth, and he's been struggling to raise his son alone. I was just helping him out for old time's sake. That's all it is. It's not what you think, Ethan. You have to believe me." I let the silence hang for a moment. "And the boy calling you mommy?" Ava's eyelashes fluttered. "He grew up without a mother. He latched onto me. I didn't have the heart to correct him." I watched her, my gaze unwavering. Her eyes darted around the room, her fingers anxiously tracing the rim of her coffee cup. The morning sun streamed through the window, illuminating the face I had once loved so deeply, a face that now seemed like a stranger's mask. "Okay," I said after a long pause, my expression softening. "I believe you." The interest was paid in full for now. Once the evidence was in my hands, I would make them both pay the principal. As I expected, a wave of relief washed over Ava's face. She grabbed my hand. "Thank you, Ethan. I knew you'd understand. You have no idea. The poor kid is just so pitiful. Every time he sees me, he runs up and calls me Mommy." Her fingertips traced circles on the back of my hand, a little gesture she used to do when we were first dating. I turned my hand over and enclosed her cold fingers in mine. "It's good to be kind," I said gently, "but from now on, you need to talk to me about these things, okay?" Ava nodded eagerly. "I will. I promise it won't happen again. If it bothers you, I'll make sure to keep my distance from them. By the way, Ethan, is your leg okay?" She seemed to finally remember my accident. "Maybe I should take you back to the hospital. We can't let it heal wrong." I was about to say no, but then I remembered Leo's words. "We'll be waiting for you at home." I nodded. Let them wait, I thought with a vicious satisfaction. Just as Ava was helping me out of the coffee shop, her phone rang. The ringtone was unfamiliar, not the one she had set for me, nor the default. It had to be a custom tone. For him. She glanced at me hesitantly before answering. "What?" Noah fell. Her voice shot up. Okay, I'm on my way." She hung up and looked at me, her face a mask of apology. "Ethan," Noah fell off a chair. "I have to go. Can you get an Uber back to the hospital? Please. He's only 3. He needs me." I managed a faint smile. "Go. The kid comes first." As if granted a pardon, Ava stood on her toes to kiss my cheek, but I turned my head just enough for her lips to meet air. She froze for a second, but another urgent buzz from her phone snapped her out of it. "I'll call you later," she yelled, already running back toward the apartment complex without a backward glance. As she ran, a man in a baseball cap stood up from a nearby table and began to follow her. He gave me a slight, discreet nod as he passed. That must be the private investigator my assistant hired. "Ava, I hope you don't disappoint me on the day we finally lay all our cards on the table." I checked myself back into the hospital. For the next few days, Ava was the model of a caring wife, visiting me every day. She insisted on cooking for me, her delicate, insured for $1 million fingers now covered in bandages from her kitchen mishaps. But, inevitably, a phone call would always pull her away. At first it stung, but with each departure, the pain lessened, replaced by a cold, hard numbness. So, when an investigation report from my assistant, Chloe, landed in my inbox, I felt nothing. My suspicions were confirmed. The man's name was Leo Vance. He was indeed Ava's ex-boyfriend, and I suppose I had met him once. But back then, my world revolved around Ava. I hadn't spared him a second thought. The boy, Noah, was their son. The birth certificate in the report was dated during her 10-month film shoot abroad, right in the second year of our marriage. That was also when her attitude toward me had changed so dramatically. I thought I had finally won her heart. It turns out it was just guilt from her affair. Chloe was ruthlessly efficient. Without me even asking, she'd hired a team of 10 PIs to conduct 24/7 surveillance, peeling back every layer of Ava and Leo's private life. The report was filled with photos of them on family outings, videos of their intimate moments, and even footage of them having sex. I sent Chloe a message. "Excellent work." She replied instantly. "The tea is piping hot, boss." I was both impressed and a little taken aback. In the middle of my marriage imploding, I discovered a hidden talent on my payroll. I wasn't sure if that counted as lucky or not. Just then my phone rang. A man's voice on the other end said, "This is Leo Vance." His tone was calm, almost arrogant. The PI report said he was an unemployed freeloader living off Ava, yet he spoke to me as if he were the one in power. I couldn't imagine where he got the confidence. Did he not realize that every opportunity Ava had was because of me? "What do you want?" I asked. "You've figured it out, haven't you? Since you know, you should stop clinging to Ava. She was always mine. Things are just back to how they should be." I frowned. "Mr. Vance, Ava and I are still married. You're being a little bold for a homewrecker, don't you think?" "The one who isn't loved is the third wheel," he retorted. "If you know what's good for you, you'll let her go. It'll be more dignified for everyone." I laughed out loud. Did you get that line from a Lifetime movie? For a guy in your position, you're not very professional. My jab must have hit a nerve, because I could hear his sharp intake of breath. Then he chuckled. Let me tell you a little secret, he said. Back in college, when I broke up with Ava, it was just a strategic move. I was about to go overseas to be a musician, and I couldn't have a girlfriend holding me back. But I wasn't ready to let her go completely. Ava's gorgeous, great body. It would have been a waste not to have had her. So the plan was to dump her, let her beg me to stay, and then I'd reluctantly agree that while I couldn't promise a future, we could at least make some beautiful memories together in a hotel room. But then you idiot, had to show up and ruin everything. But it didn't matter in the end, did it? The very night I came back to the States, she was in my bed. Though my heart was already shattered, his words ignited a fresh wave of fury. I didn't bother arguing further. I just hung up. Standing at the window, I watched the rain-swept city below. The anger and pain in my chest slowly cooled, hardening into an icy resolve. Ava wanted the Aegis Award. She wanted to be a star, admired by millions. Fine. I would give her a performance she would never forget. On the night of the Aegis Awards, the theater was a galaxy of stars. As a special guest, I had a front row seat. I watched Ava on stage, anxiously waiting for the final announcement. And the Aegis Award for Best Actress goes to... The presenter paused for dramatic effect. Ava Sterling for Midnight Bloom. The room erupted in applause. Ava shot to her feet, tears welling in her eyes. She hugged the people around her, then her gaze found mine, full of gratitude. I smiled and clapped as she made her way to the stage. Just as the presenter handed her the golden statuette, the massive screen behind the stage flickered. Then it cut to a new video. A crystal-clear sex tape of Ava and Leo Vance filled the screen, playing for everyone to see. The entire theater fell silent. Ava's face went white. The award slipped from her grasp, nearly clattering to the floor. Turn it off. That's fake. It's a deep fake. Ava's voice was a desperate, trembling shriek, but it was useless. I had paid the tech guy on duty a very generous sum. He might spend a few years in jail for this, but the money I gave him would set him up for life. The video kept playing, cycling through more evidence. Photos of her and Leo on vacation with their son. The boy's birth certificate from an overseas hospital. Even audio recordings of Ava and Leo discussing how to best leverage my resources and connections. No, it's not real. Someone is framing me. Ava screamed, her wild eyes landing on me. I rose slowly from my seat, straightened my tuxedo, and walked onto the stage. The audience was stunned into silence by the sheer drama of it all. Ms. Ava Sterling, I said calmly, my voice amplified by the microphone, booming through the hall. Congratulations on your award. As your husband of 7 secret years, I wanted to give you this special gift. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a stack of photographs, flinging them into the air. They fluttered down like confetti, each one a glossy family portrait of her, Leo, and their son. The Aegis Award rolled across the stage. Camera flashes exploded from every direction, capturing the newly crowned Best Actress at her most humiliating moment. I bent down, picked up the trophy, and leaned in to whisper in her ear. Remember what you promised? That when you became a star, you'd give this to me. I'm taking it now. I assume you have no objections. As I turned to leave, I heard her hysterical sobs behind me. But strangely, I didn't feel the thrill of victory I had expected. All I felt was a profound, bone-deep exhaustion and a sense of release. Outside, the night sky was clear and full of stars. I took a deep breath and tossed the award into a nearby trash can. That hollow symbol of vanity, much like my marriage, wasn't worth keeping. My phone rang. It was Chloe. Boss, everything went according to plan. The media is already breaking the story. Our PR team is fanning the flames. There's no coming back from this for her. Good. I hung up, got into my car, and started the engine. In the rearview mirror, the glittering lights of the awards theater faded into the distance. I knew that tomorrow's headlines would be all about tonight's scandal, but for me, it was already over. 7 years of lies had finally come to an end. The road ahead was long, but at least I wouldn't be living in deception anymore. I stood before the floor-to-ceiling windows of my penthouse office, a glass of whiskey in my hand. On my monitor, Every entertainment news outlet was screaming with headlines about last night's drama. Best actress to broken actress. Ava Sterling's secret marriage and cheating scandal exposed, the most shocking moment in Aegis history. New star's double life revealed live on stage, a CEO's revenge. The 7-year lie of a Hollywood marriage. Each article featured a photo of Ava on her knees on the stage. The face I once adored, now twisted into an ugly, tear-stained mask. The PR department has released the official statement, as you requested, emphasizing this was Ms. Sterling's personal matter and is unrelated to the corporation. The legal team has also initiated divorce proceedings and a lawsuit for breach of contract and damages. My assistant, Chloe Jensen, said, handing me a file. I nodded and drained the whiskey. Also, Chloe hesitated, your wife? I mean, Ms. Sterling has been calling nonstop. She's also waiting outside your apartment building. Security says she's very unstable. A cold smile touched my lips. Tell her to direct any comments to my lawyer. Chloe nodded and turned to leave, but paused at the door. Boss, are you okay? The question caught me off guard. Was I okay? I had executed a perfect revenge. The person who betrayed me had paid the price. I should have felt triumphant. So why did I feel like there was a gaping hole in my chest, with an icy wind blowing right through it? I'm fine. Get back to work, I said, my voice flat. Chloe looked like she wanted to say more, but she quietly closed the door behind her. I walked back to the window and pulled out my phone. 32 missed calls, all from Ava, and a dozen texts. Ethan, I'm begging you, let me explain. It's not what you think. I admit I lied to you, but there were reasons. Just hear me out. Please just answer the phone. I'm going crazy. If you don't answer, I'm coming to your office. I know you're there. The last message was sent 10 minutes ago. I frowned, about to call security, when my office door was thrown open. Ava stood there, still wearing last night's red gown. It was now rumpled and stained, like a wilted flower. Her makeup was smeared, her eyes were red and swollen, and her hair was a mess. The glamorous movie star was gone. How did you get in here? I asked coldly. I know the guy at the front desk. He knows I'm your wife, she said, her voice hoarse as she staggered toward me. Ethan, please just listen to me. There's nothing to explain. You had a child with another man during our marriage. No reason can justify that. Get out. I set down my glass, my voice terrifyingly calm. Ava stumbled and fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face like a broken dam. No, it was Leo. He was my college boyfriend. He asked me out for a drink the night he got back in the country, and I got drunk. It was just that one time. And when I found out I was pregnant, he threatened to expose everything if I didn't have the baby. Bravo. I clapped slowly, a sarcastic smirk on my face. What moving story. Worthy of an award-winning actress. Unfortunately, the videos from my PI show that your relationship was more than just a one-time accident. You were meeting every week, living like a real married couple. And by the way, I'll also be suing to recover all the marital assets you spent supporting them over the years. Ava's face grew even paler. That was all an act. He's my son. I didn't want him to grow up in a broken home. Enough, I roared, sweeping a stack of files off my desk. He asks you out, and you just go. Did you forget you were a married woman? 7 years. Ava, we were together for 7 years. You had countless chances to tell me the truth, but you chose to lie. You know what the sickest part is? I was even looking into adoption because you said you were too focused on your career to get pregnant. Everything you did made the 7 years I gave you, the trust one had in you, a complete joke. My voice echoed in the office, so loud it hurt my own ears. Ava crawled over and clutched my leg, sobbing hysterically. I was wrong. I know I was wrong. But my feelings for you are real. I admit it. I still had feelings for Leo back then. That's why I agreed to meet him. But after I saw what he was really like, all I felt was disgust. Everything after that was for my son. I looked down at her, at the face that once made my heart race, and now only filled me with revulsion. I pried her fingers off my leg one by one. Get out. No. If you won't forgive me, I'll die right here. Ethan, I love you. I know I made a mistake, but I can't live without you. She shrieked, pulling a small utility knife from her purse and pressing it to her wrist. I froze. In 9 years together, I had never seen this side of her. Put the knife down. This is pointless. It's not pointless. My career is ruined. My love is gone. Everything is gone. If you don't want me either, what's the point of living? Ava cried, the blade pressing a deep red line into her delicate skin, a hair's breadth from drawing blood. At that critical moment, the office door burst open again. Chloe rushed in with 2 security guards. They quickly subdued Ava, wresting the knife from her hand. "Ethan, you can't do this to me," she screamed as they dragged her out. "I love you, I really do love you." Her voice faded down the hallway. I collapsed onto the sofa, overcome by a wave of exhaustion unlike any I had ever known. Ava didn't give up. She called from countless different numbers. I'd block one, and another would ring. She staunchly refused to sign the divorce papers. She even found out where I was living and started showing up every day with homemade meals, which I would throw into the trash right in front of her. She never stopped. Finally, fed up, I contacted Leo Vance. I threatened that if he couldn't convince Ava to agree to the divorce, I would sue him to recover every cent of our marital assets she had spent on him. To me, it was pocket change. To him, it was more money than he could earn in a lifetime. This time, Leo's tone was stripped of all its previous arrogance. He was practically groveling. After so many years of living the easy life, the prospect of not just being broke but being buried in debt was enough to break him. Of course, I never had any intention of letting him off the hook. A successful businessman doesn't have to be ruthless, but he has to know how. It turned out that leaving it to a professional was the right move. I don't know what methods Leo used, but within a few days, Ava agreed to the divorce. On the day we went to the courthouse, Ava tried one last time to change my mind, but my resolve was absolute. Through her tears, she signed the papers, and our marriage was officially over. I never saw her again after that. Without my backing and plagued by scandal, she was blacklisted. Endorsements were terminated, and acting roles dried up overnight. The media, ever hungry for the next new thing, quickly forgot about the controversial one-time star. She was like a ripple in a pond, a brief disturbance, and then nothing. In time, Chloe and I grew closer. My gossip-loving assistant told me that Ava eventually married Leo for the sake of their son. But life was hard for them. Ava had only asked for a house and a car in the divorce settlement, and I immediately turned around and sued Leo for the money she'd spent on him. One of them had been carefully sheltered and supported by me her entire adult life, and the other was a freeloader. Without my financial backing, they managed, with impressive incompetence, to become destitute in a world full of opportunity. Leo blamed Ava for everything. Ava hated him for ruining her life. The two of them fought constantly. Neighbors reported daily screaming matches, the sound of things breaking, and a child's constant crying. One day, during another drunken fight, Leo started hitting Ava again. Having finally reached her breaking point, Ava shoved him down the stairs right in front of their son. Chloe asked me what I thought about it. I just shook my head. I don't think anything. I just feel sorry for the kid. The news was like a brief gust of wind, a moment of sad reflection, and then it was gone. My relationship with Chloe deepened, and eventually we got married. 2 years later, we had our own child. As the years passed, our son grew up and left home. Our hair turned gray, but we finally had all the time in the world to do the things we loved. One evening, my wife and I were walking hand in hand at sunset when we heard a commotion up ahead. My wife, never having lost her love for a bit of drama, pulled me forward to see. In the middle of a small crowd, a muscular man in his late 20s was beating an old woman. "This is all your fault," he screamed between blows. "If you hadn't divorced my first dad, we wouldn't have ended up like this. Now one of you is in a hospital bed, and the other is living with guilt, and what about me? I'm stuck cleaning up a mess that never ends. I dropped out of college, I worked dead-end jobs, and I'm almost 30 with no house, no car, no money. I can't even get a girlfriend. Isn't that all because of you? Why do you have to tell me what to do? If I don't gamble, how am I ever supposed to get ahead?" The man ranted as he kicked and punched the old woman. Onlookers shouted at him to stop, horrified to learn that he was her son. The old woman was curled in a ball on the ground, her arms over her head, completely silent. She didn't look up until the police arrived and took the man away. As she slowly rose, her eyes met mine for a fleeting second. There was a flicker of something, a strange, distant familiarity. But she quickly looked away, and the moment was lost. "Come on, let's go," my wife said, sighing. "What is this world coming to?" We turned and walked away, arm in arm. Behind us, a single, agonizing cry cut through the evening air. I regret everything.